So as we're settling down into the ground, start off with a little body scan. Scanning through feet, ankles, calves, thighs, hips, belly, chest, arms and hands, neck, shoulders. And notice all those little tiny muscles of the face. Even the spots like the tongue that tends to be kind of pressing against the roof of mouth. The jaw, how relaxed is it? The inner and outer corners of the eyes. Feel the tension all over your body, getting a nice chance just to release. With that good release, feel how much deeper the breath can flow. Feel how calm and relaxed the breath is. So from this state of calmness, we'll take a moment to connect with the intention for our class today, which is about a Sanskrit word called Bramacharya. And that Sanskrit word has mostly to do with our vital energy and how we're using it. There's certain activities in our life that drain our energy, and there's other activities that feed us energy. And so it's that awareness of where am I giving my energy away? In what ways is me even doing things like being mean to somebody else? How is that affecting my vital energy? In a way, sometimes it's almost like we're trying to steal that energy from somebody else, and that's why we have arguments and fights. So imagine instead a state where your vital energy, your cup was full. And from that full cup, there's no need to try to steal energy from anybody else. There's also an abundance where we could give energy, we could give love, affection, compassion to others. And there's nothing lacking in ourselves. And so that's the idea I wanted us to ponder as we travel through this beautiful practice today. The way physically we're going to work on that idea is by imagining that the chronically tight spots in our body are those bottlenecks to us being able to have good flow of that vital energy up and down. So by us working on those chronically tight spots, by helping to loosen some of those areas out, we're naturally helping our cup to be able to be much more full, so we can not only receive energy, conserve energy, but also share energy. So that's the idea I'd like us to work with for today. It's a beautiful class. So with that idea, to get us started, the first thing I'd like us to do is to start off stretching the arms all the way to the space behind our head. Feel as the arms are stretching that direction. Feel the chest, the belly, shoulders, all those areas in the front half of the body getting a nice length, a good amount of extension. So from here, we're going to move into a really good initial stretch that gets us into our side ribs, our side of our hip, the side of our shoulder. So we move into this by crossing right ankle over left, and then scooting the legs off that left side of the mat. Up above our head, we're grabbing onto the right wrist, and then scooting our shoulders off to the left. So this is called the banana pose because we're making a banana, everything scooting over to the left. But notice it doesn't take much effort for you to feel the side rib stretch, the shoulder, the outer hip, the outer thigh. So as we're here, start to let some good, easy, deep breaths flow. We have lots of space in restorative classes for ourselves to be in the pose because it helps the muscles of the body have more time, more space to continue to open. And that way it also makes our practice very meditative. So perhaps it's useful to visualize with every inhale a rush of air, prana, or maybe you visualize it like water rolling in one direction. And with the exhale, imagine it rolling back out the other direction. And each and every conscious breath that we take, it's helping to cleanse out the bottleneck that's in this stretch. So maybe it's the tightness across the shoulder, or maybe you're feeling the tightest spot being somewhere else. But take a few more of those good breaths, almost like an ocean wave, to help us imagine that even just the act of breathing is clearing out really good, important things for our body. Take one more breath on this half. And relaxing the arms and the legs back to an open shape. Feel your body receiving a moment back into a shavasana. That peaceful open place. But feel how things will never be as they were before. They're different, they've shifted. So now to help bring the body back to better balance, let's take the second side. Left ankle crosses over right, legs scoot off to the right side of the mat. Up above head, grab onto left wrist, and scoot the shoulders off to the right. You have control over how much you're scooting, and you have control over how tense we are at the wrist and ankle connection. Find the perfect amount of tension that allows us to really visualize that flow of water again, like that ocean wave. Notice how it takes a little bit of mental exercising to keep on returning to a visualization that we're practicing. The mind has a tendency to do it once or twice and then to wander around. It's almost like the mind says, that's too easy. Meditation can't be that easy. I need to think of harder things. But this is back to simplicity. Reminding ourselves that it doesn't take much to go deep. Let's take 2 more breaths like that ocean wave brushing over us. For the second one, let the limbs open back up like a mini Shavasana. And enjoy just a couple more breaths. Just simple act of laying here. So from here, we're going to get into 2 more really significant bottlenecks, some tight spots that chronically get people's, just get them tight over and over again. So this one's gonna require our strap. So go ahead and take your strap all the way open. And what we're gonna do is set up a buckle with our strap. So we're setting it up so that it locks itself in a loop. So you'll feed it through the end of the strap through both of the middle pieces and then loop through, again, just the last one. So in that way, once you've got that lock set into place, you should be able to put pressure against this loop and it should hold. We're going to start with a really large loop. And the idea, once we've got this, is that you set right foot into one part of the strap. You don't want the metal to be behind the back of the head, so shift it around just a little bit, and then the back of the head gets to go into the other end. So you don't want it at the neck where the head falls backwards. You also don't want it too high up where it slips off the crown of the head. You want it kind of in that middle spot so that we can have the neck in a neck stretch and the leg in a hamstring stretch, both together, just kind of being held up with nothing but gravity and just the support of the strap. So you'll notice as you get to this shape, if this is super, super tight, you're probably at a good spot. You don't have to readjust. If you're in this shape and you don't really feel much of anything, that's an indication that maybe you should tighten your loop up a little bit. So adjust to whatever your flexibility level is right here today. Try to allow the knee to aim towards straight, but never locking. And then all we're gonna do for a couple of minutes is just relax into that shape. Just breathe. Perhaps you're using that same visualization like the ocean wave, this time traveling up through the leg and then down through the neck. Getting some of those new bottleneck spots that tend to be really tight, even chronically painful for people. Imagining that if we can help the vital energy learn how to just flow effortlessly through these areas, we could live a life with much less pain. So notice any areas where maybe you can relax, maybe without even realizing it, maybe a glute is clenched up, or maybe even the shoulders are kind of hiking up to the ears. So if there's anything we can do to help the rest of the body be a little bit more relaxed, try to allow that to be in place. Let's take about 5 more slow, deep breaths for this time. that fifth breath starts to draw to a conclusion, we're going to support the transition to the second side. So we want the neck to make sure it's safe. So hands come up left and right, helping to support the neck. When you're ready, step the left foot all the way up and in. Slowly work on dropping the right leg back out. Usually, the sides are at least somewhat close to balanced. So the tightness of your loop usually is about the same from left to right. But if for some reason the side is super, super tight, you could always loosen it up just a little bit to help it relax. Get to a spot that you can maintain for a few minutes. And once again, let that rush of oxygen help us imagine washing out the bottleneck, helping our vital energy to flow much more freely. Try to maintain this level of presence for another 5 breaths, slow and deep. You start to finish the last breath, release the head. The strap can go off to the side. And let's take the knees into the chest, a hand on each knee. A few easy, gentle rocking movements, left and right. This can help us come into some awareness of what's going on in our hips and our low back. So let some good, easy breaths flow. And then we're going to start making our way up to a seated position. So oftentimes in restorative yoga, we'll just roll over to a side and then press our way up, making it so it's much more effortless than normal. And so from here, if your mat's not touching a wall, go ahead and scoot to a wall. We're just gonna pretend like I have a wall behind, so that way you can just kind of visualize exactly what I'm doing. So mat scoots all the way up to touch a wall. And from here, we're gonna do a couple of things just sitting really tall, our back immediately up to the wall. Oftentimes there's things that happen in our hips when we start to lean forward, where the hips rock back and then we go forward into whatever our shape is. And so the wall is here not only to help support us and help us feel the vital energy lift really easily up, but it's also there just to help us feel that support through the hip structure. So the first pose we're going to take is a cobbler's pose. Bottoms of feet slide together. You get to choose. Maybe the feet need to be further out today. Maybe they can scoot a little bit closer. And so the idea is feeling what it is to sit really tall with this. Sometimes if this is pretty open with our hips, it's nice to invite a hand onto each knee, helping to press the hips a little bit more open. Sometimes the grip around ankles feels better. So notice what it is to sit tall here for a little while. Imagine the stacked spine and how easily the nervous system works when we're stacked and our posture is really good like this. The nerves in our body are kind of the closest thing that we have to symbolize a physical representation of that life force flowing through us. And so, of course, when we're more slouched, it's going to affect how the flow of that prana is. So just use this height to remind us this is what good flowing energy feels like. Now, depending on how useful the wall is to the hip opener shape, you could stay exactly like this, helping invite the hips open, just sit up tall. You could also grab your bolster and setting it up in front of you, tall height or small height, begin to tilt your straight spine forward, letting the chin or the forehead release down. So if that feels more useful, take it. If not, just keep on sitting up tall against the wall. Imagine how that vital energy wants to flow through the hips. Maybe instead of an up and down flow, like perhaps we've been visualizing as we were laying on our back, maybe now it's more of a left and right flow. Like water swishing around back and forth in a tub. So starting to lift the spine back up. We're going to take a little bit of time opening the legs out a bit wider. So notice first what it takes for your spine to stay stacked. Some people might have knees significantly bent, but spine really straight stacked. Some people might be able to extend the knees much straighter. So it's not a competition. It's just listening to your body, Just asking, what does it take to sit here comfortably? Okay, 3 more breaths, slow and deep here. Then what we're going to do, whether those knees are bent or straight, or even if you want to take it more easy into a cross-leg position, we're going to scoot in our bolster, place the bolster off to our right side, rest the right elbow on the bolster, the head rocks into that hand. If this is enough, stretch through the side ribs. This is great. If the top arm wants to just kind of come up and then rest its weight on the head, that's also fine. The idea is imagining opening up that space of vital energy through those side ribs, even deeper than the banana shape that we took earlier. And if it gets too intense at all, just switch how the legs are. That'll lessen the intensity. You can even drop the top hand down if that starts to feel like it's pulling it too much. Take 2 more breaths on this half. Top arm comes up first and then the head rises. We'll switch the bolster over. Second side. Left elbow rests down, support the head. If it felt good, top arm can just reach up and over and then just drop its weight on the head. Imagine maybe our intestines have been cramped. For instance, if we have bad posture and our ribs just kind of push into our intestines all day long, maybe our intestines have been cramped a lot, and maybe leaning over like this is suddenly creating so much space for that vital energy in the intestine area. Imagine all that added health, all the added circulation, all of that goodness able to start flowing, like we're taking away a very significant bottleneck. Take about 3 more breaths here. And step by step, gently head out of this one. We'll start to swing our legs underneath our body. We'll head to a child's pose. Oftentimes I'll let the knees be a little bit wider in restorative yoga. And you could have forehead on the ground, but I personally like to have my forehead up on the edge of the bolster so that my nose isn't crunched by anything. And so as you start to sit the hips back, feel how the breath flows easily. The arms resting in a comfortable spot, maybe slightly extended forward, maybe not. And notice how this new shape is on all of those back muscles. Another huge breath in and out. As we walk back in, we're going to take just a couple of breaths for a shoulder stretch. So if this is uncomfortable to kneel like this, you could either come up to a higher kneeling spot or sit on your sitting bones instead. But we're going to take our right arm briefly across our chest, and then left arm hugs it in. I'll even, for this side, tilt my head over to the left, and that just brings a really good stretch through the left part of the neck and down the shoulder. One more breath for this shoulder. And both arms open. Left arm comes across. Maybe tilt the head to the right shoulder. A couple of breaths here. One more breath in. Out. Both arms open. Good. We're gonna head either to a figure 4 stretch or a pigeon pose, depending on which one is gonna work for our hip. So I'll show the pigeon pose with the bolster first. The bolster would be off to the right side. As my right leg steps forward, I work the foot off to the left side, and then I rock my hip down onto bolster. So scoot far enough forward that you have space for your back leg to have any amount of extension back. So it would be either off to the side more gentle or all the way back. Good, just like that. And then as we start to lean forward, you can be propped up on elbows, propped up on hands, whatever's comfortable. So this is the bolster variation. If this needs to be even deeper, you could scoot the bolster to the front instead. Kind of like the child pose is something just to rest the forehead down onto. So this is the pigeon pose variation. If this is way too much for knee and hip, then the figure 4 variation is the right ankle to the left thigh. So know that you've got that option, but choose the variation that feels good for the body, that helps the body relax. We'll be here for a little while. Again, imagine that rush of prana through this tight spot, all the areas here that are speaking to you. One last breath for this hip. And then we're going to come to a seated position so that we can give some space for that hip. So rock your weight onto right leg. We're sitting down, both legs out in front of us. Take the legs out about as wide as the mat. We're going to do some windshield wipers. So both knees go left. Both knees go to the right. Take a couple of rounds to each direction. And just feel how that loosens up all those tight ligaments that are in this area. Okay, so as you feel ready for second side, we'll start to head into the shape. So again, if it's figure 4, just place the left ankle up. If we've got ourselves sitting on the bolster, take it off to the left side, sit. Right leg can be partly back, or you could pick up the hips and go all the way back. Maybe resting forehead down to bolster. Choose your variation. And start to let the breaths flow through this area. Imagine a moment when you've been in a traffic bottleneck. Maybe there was 5 lanes on the road, but a huge accident blocked off 4 of them, and everybody had to try to merge into one lane to get through this one point. Imagine how long and annoying it is, how many people trying to fight to be the first one to merge over, and trying to sneak their way further before they turn into the lane, and how people behave around that bottleneck. Imagine that's kind of what happens sometimes with the energy of our body. Sometimes it's like there's a crash energetically in a certain spot, and it bottlenecks everything down to a really condensed energetic state. And when we get like that, it's no wonder that people might lash out in anger, even violence. It's no wonder some of the things that we see in this world, how much stress can go on, because literally that's how the energy is flowing in their bodies. Here at this moment, if there's any of those bottlenecks that we're experiencing, maybe especially in this hip, or maybe up the back, the neck, the shoulders, try to relax all the areas surrounding it to try to help any bottlenecks. Help make it, instead of just one lane open, maybe it's now 2 lanes, and 3, and eventually increasing that spaciousness. And in that way, the flow happens so effortlessly. In this beautiful spot, let's take about 5 more slow breaths. That 5th breath again, come to that seated place where we can send our legs into windshield wipers, left and right. Feel so much space getting freed up in the body. It's no wonder the body loves to stretch. It helps to work out some of those bottlenecks. Things just feel better afterward. Good. So from here, we're going to do a couple of poses with our legs up the wall. So what I want us to do to get our legs up the wall is you'll kind of sit so that your glutes touch the wall. You'll get one shoulder down, and then when you roll onto your hips, it'll minimize the amount of scooting that you have to do to get your glutes to touch the wall. So go ahead and get yourself legs swung up. Have your strap a little bit closer, so just in case you want it for one of our variations. And as we swing our legs up, we're going to take a couple of different options, a couple of minutes with each spot, and then we'll have the option to do our final Shavasana here, though you could always switch out if it feels like the circulation in your legs is cut off. So the first pose here is wide legs. So start to let the legs open as wide as they can, left and right. And take a little peek to try to see if each foot is about equal distance to the ground. That just shows us that the hips and the sacrum are level. So try to adjust until they're even. And sometimes as I'm laying back with the wide legs like this, sometimes I'll grab onto each elbow and then just let the elbows rise up overhead. Gives it a space and a chance to open up the chest and the shoulders a little bit. We'll give this spot just a little bit longer. From here, we're going to take it into a cobbler's pose. Let the knees softly bend, the bottoms of feet come closer together. You choose if the feet are higher up the wall or closer in. And here you've got some options. You could relax with the arms as they are. You could open the arms to the sides, or you could use the hands to help press the knees a little bit more open to the wall. So notice I'm doing some of the shapes that we did before. Notice this orientation with the back and the hips solid on the ground this way. How is the flexibility of the body relaxing, open? We'll give this space just a couple of easy breaths. Notice maybe if there were bottlenecks previously, maybe they've kind of shifted the weight out. It's not quite so tense. Beautiful. And we'll take a figure 4 stretch, kind of like that pigeon pose. So as the knees scoop in, the feet will naturally slide up the wall a little bit. You're going to take the right ankle to the left thigh. That might mean left foot has to slide even higher. So from here, you have control. Listen to your hips and sacrum. Keep that part flat on the ground. But some people might be pushing the right hand into the right knee. Other people might be threading arms around the left thigh. Some people might scoot the left foot as close as you can without making the tailbone lift. So you've got lots of play points here. Just find the perfect amount that helps the hip open without being too much pressure on the knees. We won't be here too long on this side. Let's do about 4 more good breaths for this half. And then start to switch. Right foot makes its way to the wall, left ankle works its way up. Same options as before, the right foot can slide closer or further. You could physically push the left knee open with the left hand or thread arms around the right side. Just give this side a couple more breaths. Imagining any bottlenecks no longer needing to be there. Take 3 more good breaths right here. Good. So as we uncross the ankle, the way that we'll start our Shavasana is going to be with both legs together. In fact, we're going to loop our strap around our thighs and then tighten it so that there's no muscular effort required to keep the legs up. So it doesn't have to be super tight, but have it tight enough that the legs just kind of stay in the upward position. And note everybody's ability to stay in this kind of inverted state for the legs. Everybody's ability is a little different. So we'll start Shavasana here. The Shavasana will be several minutes. So if at any point you have to take yourself down away from the wall and then flatten out onto the ground, that is absolutely fine. So there's nothing wrong with shifting your Shavasana, but go ahead and let your legs go up the wall. Let the arms relax. Let this be that calm, peaceful state. For several minutes, all you have to do is just simply breathe. As you breathe in and out, imagine you could literally see in your mind's eye what your energy looks like. Maybe it looks like a sun, where there's certain spots with sunspots and other spots with solar flares. Notice if you have any areas of your body that are kind of leaking out energy like a solar flare. And if you have any of those areas, imagine you could tune into your intuition. Your intuition could teach you. If you just do this, it would stop leaking there. Our vital energy would be much more conserved. We'd be able to have more of us to go around. Maybe briefly you imagine that type of energy, almost like a snapshot of your body. Just keep the breath flowing. Maybe the image fades away. As we relax here for a bit longer, just keep breathing in and out. here, let's begin to deepen our inhales. Exhales. Introduce little movements back to fingers and toes, ankles and wrists. We've still got the legs up the wall with the strap. Perhaps start to loosen the strap away as we take the knees over to a fetal position toward one side. Eventually helping the body to have just a nice resting position. If you've been with legs up the wall the whole time, notice how nice it is to have that rush of blood back into the legs. Sometimes there's other little movements that need to happen. So keep on returning to the body. Eventually, sooner or later, we'll come up to a comfortable seated place. It's no rush to get there, only when your body feels ready. Here seated, we'll take our hands to our hearts. And we'll allow ourselves to wrap up the time, bringing our mind full circle back to that idea of Bramacharya, our vital energy. Notice now how this energy is. Maybe it's like we've been topped off. We feel good, refreshed, ready to sleep or ready to take on the day. And so with this type of energy and the intuition guiding us out of bottlenecks, with this to lead us forward, let's wrap up the time we shared together with a sound of Om. Deep inhale now. May we be filled with light, happiness, and peace. Namaste.